where will Peyton Manning go? Manning spent nearly 6.5 hours Sunday with the Cardinals. This after spending like 6 hours with the Broncos on Friday. Now, according to sources, the Broncos and the Cardinals, those two teams are among Manning's favorites to get his services. But we're asking you, Doug, where should Peyton go?
Originally, I thought that the best fit would be the Washington Redskins, but it's come out that he doesn't want to go, to an NFC team.
Because it was a terrible fit.
Disgusting fit.
I thought it was a perfect fit.
Disgusting.
We'll talk about that a little bit later in the Washington Redskins. But what you have to look at is teams that have a need. And clearly, Skip Bayless, the Denver Broncos have a need for a quarterback.
I'll give you that much.
They do.
I'll give
Shots
you that
fired.
much.
And what you were looking at is which team wants him and desires him more. Which team also is probably the closest to winning. And if you listen to what the media is saying, if you're listening to what sources are saying, it's coming down to the Arizona Cardinals, the Denver Broncos, and maybe even the Miami Dolphins. When he goes back home, he'll stop by the facility and talk to those folks. I think out of those three teams, if you're talking about those three teams, a three-team race, I think there's probably Denver because I think their defense played very well at times last year.
At times?
They won a lot of games for that organization last year.
They made plays.
You're getting Doomerville back this year as well from the injury. And I think Peyton Manning, if you add him into that offense, I think that the Denver Broncos have the best chance to progress in the playoffs and maybe even make a shot for a Super Bowl ring.
When it comes to the Redskins, to my understanding, they're still trying to be in the sweepstakes. They don't mind putting RG3 or Andrew Luck, if he's taken first, on the shelf to learn from Peyton Manning, which makes sense to me. But I think Arizona, and sad to say that every Philadelphia Eagle quarterback, when they get out of Andy Reid's system, they fall on their face. Kevin Colbert's done the same thing. And you got Darnell Dockett on Twitter saying, hey, bring this guy to town. We need this guy. That says a whole lot about the franchise. I think Ken Wisenhunt and the offensive coordinator Mike Miller would be very open, just like they were with Kurt Warner, to allow Peyton Manning to have input with the offense. Under Kurt Warner, he threw for 4,583 yards. They had a phenomenal outing, and the team flourished. Don't you think that Peyton Manning is better? You got Beanie Wells now. You got a couple of other backs. You've got Larry Fitzgerald, a guy that can stretch the field, a guy that can get to the ball. And I'm still concerned about Peyton's health when it comes to taking a hit, when there's real bullets in the gun. But Arizona makes total sense to me when you're talking about a couple of pieces on defense and the offense that they've got around them.
Okay. I'm on record as saying Miami, among the teams that Peyton appears to be still considering, would easily be the best choice. I had San Francisco my number one, and I'm still shocked San Francisco didn't
Not hearing no talk about San Francisco.
No sniff. And that means they chose Jim Harbaugh over Peyton Manning.
Agreed,
and I
totally.
think that'll be a big mistake.
Agree totally.
Now, there are two things in my life I thought I would never, ever see. Number one, the Indianapolis Colts cutting Peyton Manning. And number two, subsequent to that cut, that Peyton would be favoring the Denver Broncos? Are you kidding me, Doug? The Denver Broncos? Now, I get it. If Peyton's available, I will give you this. If I'm the Broncos, I would want Peyton over Tebow. I've never said anything about Tebow other than he could be a successful starting quarterback. Just about every team except 4 or 5 should want Peyton Manning over their current starting quarterback.
In relative terms,
Okay.
Right.
Now, when I thought about Peyton's wish list, this is like a week ago, I would have put the Denver Broncos in the bottom 4th of the NFL because I'm thinking Peyton would want, number one, a bona fide, no doubt, Super Bowl contender. And this team is not that.
You don't
not
think
even
he makes
close.
them that way?
Heck no. Heck no. Okay. It'd make him a playoff team because he'd make any team a playoff team. But number two, I'm thinking Peyton wants a dome or a warm weather site because he's had a hard time in January outdoors in the playoffs. And listen, Denver gets real cold in January.
Right.
Okay? So now let's talk about what's left there. The defense is below average, and I'll tell you why in just a second. The receivers are below average. I love Demaryius Thomas, your Georgia Tech guy. He's coming. He came the last couple of games of the year off an Achilles injury. But listen, they led the league in rushing because Tim Tebow so effectively handled the spread option, and McGahee flourished under it. And that took a lot of pressure off the defense because they controlled the ball. Let's look at that defense that got...
Yeah.
Wait a second. Go look back at what happened. It was 1-4 without Tim Tebow. Then it got blown off the field by Detroit. Christian Ponder threw for 381 yards. The Bills ran for 160 yards, and Tom Brady threw for 5 touchdowns in in the first half against your Super Bowl defense. That's a joke. It's a joke.
If Tim Tebow can
back up here. Let me back up here.
If Tim Tebow can beat the Steelers, what can Peyton Manning do? If Peyton Manning's playing versus the New England Patriots, how much better is that team? And when it comes to Bilbo, he had the year that he had late in the season, coming off of a bad injury. He'll do better this upcoming season. He's got great hands, great size, and speed.
Okay, but let's just do this. San Francisco, Denver. Who's got the best shot?
When it comes to San
Francisco's not in the talk. They're not in the conversation.
That's the point.
Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know why, but they're not.
San Francisco, Alex Smith had a very good year where they should have gotten to the postseason. Well, not to the postseason, but to the Super Bowl. But they didn't have a receiver that could make any catches. Address that. Alex Smith is a CAA client. Peyton Manning is a CAA client.
Yeah,
they're not going to bump heads to bump Alex Smith off the ladder.
But so is Tim
Tebow.
Isn't Tim Tebow a CAA
It's a different story when you're talking about Tim Tebow, Alex Smith, and Peyton Manning.
He's everybody's client. He's William Morris and CAA.
And to Tebow, why would he have a problem with sitting behind Peyton Manning?
Okay, we'll get to that.
in a second.
I think that would be an outstanding opportunity for
They
him.
do have the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Von Miller.
You know what?
He's
way overrated. I'm on the record. I was on the record before the draft.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey,
And
I know he hurt his hand, but listen, the last 6 games of the year, he was nowhere to be seen because he's an undersized pass rusher who can get blocked.
Playing with the covered hands, Skip.
Hey, listen.
He didn't
Trust
have
me
both
on this.
hands, Skip.
I'm always on the record before the draft. Overrated. Any big Texas A&M game I saw didn't come to play.
I hate to ruin your Monday morning, Skip, but the best fit for Peyton Manning is the Denver Broncos.
The best fit? Better than the Dolphins?
Because he wants to play in the AFC. He wants a team that has a defense. The defense won games for the Denver Broncos last year.
Yeah, better
contrary
defense.
to your belief.
Better defense. Miami or Denver?
And now,
I think I'll go with Miami.
We'll get into it a little bit later. And now you're seeing that another option has become available, and Tim Tebow is expendable.
All right. Speaking of that,
Tim Tebow is expendable.
Hold on just a second.
Speaking of that,
he is expendable.
That's fine with me. If you got Peyton Manning, he's expendable. I hope he's expendable.
Wow. They did get to the playoffs last year with Tim Tebow, and they actually won a playoff game. Because of Tim Tebow.
Thank you.
So Peyton Manning makes them a little bit better. You're admitting that, right?
Oh, sure.
So
they make a lot of teams better.
So how far could Denver go if they had Peyton Manning instead of Tim Tebow? If they won a playoff game last year.
They could win a playoff game. That'd be about it.
So it doesn't make them any better then, right?
They'll have a better regular season record. Now, they backed into the AFC West, even though he went and swept them on the road. But they will not be that much better because the team is not that much better.
Okay.
You can't tell me if Peyton goes there, you're going to pick him to win the Super Bowl.
No, I'm not going to pick him to win the Super Bowl.
Well, then why would he go there?
He's an infinitely better quarterback than Tim Tebow. And it's coming to fruition right now, Skip.